riots going on in places like Shanghai, where the Chinese communists have imposed these COVID lockdown, the latest COVID lockdowns, because what I'm seeing is, and I'm sure you've looked at some of these videos as well, and there's always a question in our minds of why are we seeing this? And if they're on TikTok, which you know the Chinese communists own and run, why are they allowing them to be seen on
Yeah,
TikTok? What's going on here? But
Les Luther pointed out in this article. It's great. There are 13,000 of the most popular videos having to do with Ukraine, Russia, were actually video game clips shared on TikTok. Like that's how untrustworthy a lot of stuff is. But I don't automatically consider stuff to be fake. But yes, it's important to recognize inherently just how
Well,
deceptive.
these are very dramatic videos we're seeing from China with mobs of what you see is on one side you see this army of guys in white hazmat suits, covered head to toe in these white hazmat suits. I mean, anti-chemical contamination suits, an army of them, with shields, with riot shields. And on the other side, you see the masses, the people, with mostly with just improvised with like pieces of fence post and rocks and stuff like that, and they're engaged in what looks like combat with these white, head to toe hazmat suited white, and white hazmat suited whatever they are, soldiers, cops, whatever they are. And but what I'm noticing is the mob that's attacking them are mostly masked. In other words, the very people who we are told are out there in the streets rioting against the lockdowns in China are themselves, for the most part, not all of them, but for the most part, wearing the goddamn fucking mask. And to
Interesting
me,
observation. And one other thing to point out, and this is kind of also notable here, we have to point out that more than half the population agree with the lockdowns. They're not siding with the people resisting the police. We're only seeing a percentage of the population that would be against it. And yeah, they obviously don't have it all right there if they're still wearing. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, is the mask as politicized out there as it was here?
well, are these videos even real? Are they even real? Because there are critics out there, media deconstructionists, who think that this is an op going on, that it may involve an actual internal conflict inside the Chinese Communist Party between different factions, and that these are power grabs going on, and these videos are just contrived weapons in a propaganda, a Kulturkampf, psychological war. And we don't really know how real they are. I mean,
I
can
know what
we
you're saying.
verify that
Right.
these riots are actually occurring, or
Look, I think a lot of people see the
are we
riots
being
and they
led
have
on?
this. I think a lot of people get kind of misty-eyed and they have some kind of hope that people are going to quote wake up and do something, and they're always
And
weighed
if
down.
the
They're always weighed
if
down by
the
the half that don't want to do anything, that like the status quo or oppose
but
the
if
other
the
side.
rioters themselves, are wearing a mask, what's the message there?
The brainwashing is too deep. I mean, it really
I mean,
is.
what are they? Well, they're. It's kind of like it's a mixed messaging because it's saying, well, look at how these people are resisting the lockdown, but they're still wearing the mask because the virus is real.
Mission
It's real.
accomplished. Mission accomplished. Hey, question. What is your take on Elon Musk? A lot of people think that he's some kind
Yeah,
of
he's called
hero.
out Fauci as a murderer. Now,
Th-
this is
that's what you left
I
your
left it.
message about. You left a message about that. So he made this statement, and now they're saying that he is putting crosshairs on this guy. They're making Musk into a meme terrorist, and that's what I'm saying. Do you think he's a fall guy, or do you think he's actually fighting the power?
Well, we're really asking here is Musk conforming to the script, or is he
Right,
deviating from the script? Is he straying off the reservation?
right, because
Is he
they're
is
doing
he
they're doing a yay to him. They're saying Musk is no longer the world's richest man. They're talking about how Tesla's stocks are going low, and they don't know how low it will go. And I'm just seeing a lot of basically hate watching on Musk. He's become some kind of Lex Luthor to the liberals, and
But this is really strange because here's Donald Trump going around boasting that he saved 1 million lives with his miraculous vaccine, Operation Warp Speed, with the Trump vax. And that's what I'm calling it. Anybody I run into who's willing to talk about, their vaccine experience, the first thing I ask them is, well, when did you get yours? And if they got theirs pretty before the newest boosters came along, they got the original Trump vax. If they didn't, they got a Biden vax.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, well, that's very important, because anybody who's buying into the vaccine, the most important question is, well, which version of the vaccine did you buy into, the Trump vax or the Biden vax? And what's astounding about this is all these Trump haters out there, well, they basically took the Trump vax, most of them.
Yeah, I was actually surprised. I was surprised. Like, would they rather die than be saved by him?
Well, because there was mixed messaging there as well. We were told by the leading Democrat contenders, and they all said this when they were asked during the debates. Even Andrew Cuomo, who was still in contention, this is before his disgrace and downfall, he's there saying, I wouldn't trust it. I wouldn't trust a vaccine delivered by Donald Trump. But they all ended up taking it, because once the elections happened and the new regime came in, they all ended up taking that vax. So the very same leaders who said, I will never take a Trump vax, they went on TV and said, hey, everybody, you better take this vax, you better take this vax. They forced the military and the whole country to take the Trump vax. They forced people to take the Trump vax to keep their jobs. Damn if that's not a Mandela McMahon effect. They managed to get millions of people to forget that they said they would never trust the Trump vax. But then when Trump lost the election, then the vax is okay.
Oh, it's incredible. It's incredible, the steering of the mass mind. And I don't know if you caught this, but the other day Tim Truth called in, and he did some research, some etymology into the word syringe. And the word syringe actually comes from syrinx, the pan flute. And you think about pan, hypnotizing, or the Pied Piper. We're talking about the piper. And the interesting thing about this, too, one, panic. He's the god of panic, pandemic. And then, of course, we're looking at the piping of the satyr. And then his nymphs, I think, would correlate to the dancing nurses.
You know what you just provoked in me? I just started hearing the strains of Led Zeppelin's, a total world-conquering hit, Stairway to Heaven. Now, I don't know how old most of your audience is.
Oh, that song
there.
gets regular play on all the radio stations here still.
Right, and the Piper will lead us to there. That song actually has lyrics that sort of are very suggestive of what you're talking about. This whole myth of the Piper will lead us somewhere as it goes, and they actually have like a little, sort of like a pipe, a little flute.
I think he said, that they're actually, now he says the Piper will lead us to reason and a new day will dawn. And the thing is, the god Pan is another one of these obelisk deities, Jack Parsons. And what we're looking at, the reason why this even came up, is the One World Trade Tower looks like a big syringe. And while it was being built, people around it were complaining that the wind blowing through it, it made it into a gigantic pipe. And it sounded like they said shrieks of the 9/11 ghosts.
They're hearing unearthly. Who was it? MSNBC or NPR? The mainstream media networks did a thing on this, of where people that were in the area of the new tower were hearing these weird sounds, like choruses or weird sounds that the wind was causing as it whistled through this new tower that they've built. And
yes, the new tower.
There's a whole story about
looks like a big syringe, which again is a syrinx or a pan flute, and then pandemic, syringe. And you're like, wow, okay. There's some interesting wordplay built into this thing, but ultimately it's about state terror and submission and panic. I think it's an apt symbol, and I think that the piping is intentional, and it is tied into pan. It's tied into the bigger agenda anyway, insofar as
they can't proceed. Well, let me put it this way: the mixed messaging that's going on here is very deliberate, because Elon Musk is coming on Twitter and as opposed to Trump, who's claiming that he saved a million lives with his warp speed. Elon Musk is charging Anthony Fauci with responsibility for the death of over a million people.
Yes, in
And
fact, that was brought up on NBC with this interview with Fauci. They're like, he's accusing you basically of genocide. And then, of course, not only that, but people are almost more offended by Musk saying his pronouns were prosecute and Fauci. Uh,
yeah,
that's now
right.
tantamount to hate speech, by the way.
Just for the record, did Musk has is Musk gone public about whether he took the vax?
Oh yeah, I think he did. I'm not sure actually. I know that he was reportedly taking PCR test after test after test, just Q-tips everywhere. But
Do you think he's fooled by this?
look,
Do you think he buys into this? Come
no,
on, he can't be.
look, Musk fakes space. And anybody who thinks he's a hero or he's fighting the power, he's on the dark side. He has to be. He's not anti-NASA. He's not some freewheeling capitalist space cowboy. No, he's part of the world view establishment. That he's part of the cult. He has to be.
We are truly into the deepest depths of the shallow. You understand? This is about as shallow as. This really tells us that what we call the Mandela or McMahon effect is just a particularly absurdist and egregious case of what they are doing in general for the entire civilization, which is, among other things, the destruction of memory. The true destruction of memory, where they get to program new memory on a daily basis.
Now, replace the word memory with meme-ary. They want to destroy our memes.